Alright, moving on. More coverage of Season of Discovery runes. Going into Mage now. Heard Mage gets heals. See what's going on here. So, Chest Burnout. Gain the Burnout ability. Increases your spell critical strike chance with all spells by 15%. Your non-periodic spell critical strikes now have an additional mana cost of 1% of your base mana. So 15% crit. Non-periodic spell crits. Dots don't crit in Classic. Are they adding dot crits? And they actually had to specify here? Or is this just generic retail speak? Because that's just how they're used to typing it out. I don't know. 15% crit though. Whatever the downside is. The hunters got 30%, and their downside was they had to stand still, which they were doing anyway. So, but this is pretty good. Enlightenment, gain the Enlightenment ability. You deal 10% more damage while you have more than 70% mana, while below 30% mana, 10% of your mana regeneration continues while casting. Interesting. Fingers of Frost gives your chill effects a 15% chance to grant you Fingers of Frost effect, which treats your next 2 spells cast as if the target were frozen. So, yeah, you just get regular Fingers of Frost. That is going to be our PvP talent. Okay. Regeneration. Gain the regeneration ability. Heals the target for health over 3 seconds and applies temporal beacon for 30 seconds. Records the subject's space-time position. 100% of all arcane damage done by the caster will be converted to chronomatic healing and divided among the caster's current temporal beacon targets. So, it doesn't say that this has a cooldown or anything. Believe it did not. When people were testing it as BlizzCon, I did watch a little bit of that. So you can just beacon out, but it is divided, right? Healing divided. So it's not like you want your entire 40-man raid to be beaconed, because you're not going to be healing for anything. But, you know, you have a couple beacon targets. I think this space time position thing is more of a... They're explaining how mages are healing, and it's through time manipulation. Like they're just resetting you back to a time where you weren't all beat up. Okay. But let's see. But it is arcane damage. So is your arcane spec just going to be healing and deepen? Okay, here we go. Hands. Arcane Blast. Gain the Arcane Blast ability. Blast the target with energy, dealing arcane damage. Each time you cast Arcane Blast, the damage and healing of all other arcane spells is increased by 15%, and mana cost of Arcane Blast is increased by 175%, stacks up to 4 times in the last 6 seconds or until any other arcane damage or healing spell is cast. Well, I guess that answers our question, yeah. Your arcane healing. Ice Lance. Gain the Ice Lance ability. Deals frost damage to an enemy target. Causes triple damage against frozen targets. Okay. Gain the Living Bomb ability. Target becomes a living bomb, taking fire damage over 12 seconds. After 12 seconds or when the spell is dispelled, target explodes, dealing fire damage to all enemies within 10 yards. Gain the Rewind Time ability. Your current target with your temporal beam instantly heals all damage taken over the last 5 seconds. Ineffective on targets that did not have temporal beacon 5 seconds ago. So, I mean, the initial thoughts here, like, yeah, if you're raiding, like, Arcane Blast is so good, right? If you're raiding, you're probably taking this, and then you could just take Regeneration just to do a little bit of random healing, but, I mean, you're missing out on 15% crit. In PvP, you're like, oh, I want to go Ice Lance, you know. And do frost stuff, but I mean your frost stuff's already good enough. Like, you probably take rewind time because it looks like the meta is going to be really bursty. Yeah, classic PvP is already really bursty, so if you survive the burst at all, you know, if you get chunked way down and stuff, you just click this and you just heal it all back up. That's I think that's where you're going. PvP. Arcane Surge. Gaining Arcane Surge. Unleash all of your remaining mana in a surge of energy focused at the target, dealing a lot of arcane damage, increased by up to 300% based on your remaining mana. Afterwards, your normal mana regeneration is activated and increased by 300% for 8 seconds. Okay, this is getting annoying. This is interesting in that this mana, you're reactivating your mana regen, and it's increased by a huge amount for 8 seconds. So you just, like, if you're already, you can just click this button and just regain a crap load of mana. So maybe this is like your sort of arcane thing. Getting the Icy Veins ability. Hastens your spell casting. Increasing spell casting speed by 20%. Reduces pushback suffered from damaging to attacks while casting by 100%. Last 20 seconds. So you get no pushback. Cool. Getting the Living Flame ability. Summons a Spellfire Flame that moves towards the target, leaving a trail of Spellfire. This trail deals Spellfire damage every second to nearby enemies. Last 20 seconds. Alright. Getting the Mass Regeneration ability. Heals all the target player's party members within 15 yards of target player for health over 3 seconds. Applies temporal beacon to each target for 15 seconds. Records the subject's space-time position. 100% of all arcane damage done by the caster will be converted to chronomatic healing divided among the caster's temporal beacon targets. So your raid heal spec is this, and you heal by pumping Arcane Blast, which I imagine a lot of mages are going to want to do anyway, because this is actually really good damage. You actually have to look in the Arcane tree, because nobody plays Arcane, right? Is this, so this reduces healing threat too? Reduces the target resistance to all your spells by 10 and reduces the threat caused by your arcane spells by 40%. If your heals are arcane spells, then you cause no healing threat? That's cool. Okay. Like clear casting is going to be very good with just gonna go something like this, and you're just clicking this button and this button if you really need to reset your beacons, and then you just pump Arcane Blast. That's how I want to heal. That's the way to go. Huh. But we'll stop this one here. I don't think the other specs got anything like too crazy. As far as like, you know, what are you doing level 25? That's going to be much different. You know, you get Fingers of Frost and Ice Lance for PvP, but I'm really leaning towards the fact that you're probably going to need this to just go, because you're not going to have Ice Block. So I mean, if you get chunked down and you're sitting there at 10% HP, good luck. Because everybody else just has amazing damage and sticking power now with some of these new runes. Like, you're just gonna die. So Mage might just be completely broken with this in PvP. Like, what kind of cooldown this has? You know, this obviously, it doesn't say that it does, but we're gonna assume that it has a cooldown, because this doesn't. Like, mages are gonna be insane. So, all right, we'll move on to the next one.